Welcome to Season 5 of Swiss Impact with Banerjee. I'm Sveta.
And I am Ben. The topic of Season 5 is impactful investments. How can you make a difference with your capital?
Our guests, who are managing impact investment funds, business owners, thought leaders, will empower you to invest with impact.
In this season, we will showcase various impact investment funds who are contributing to SDGs, better known as Sustainable Development Goals as defined by the United Nations.
There is no excuse. Shift your capital to create positive change in our world. Your children will be happier, you will feel fulfilled, and make money.
We will broadcast every Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Central European Time, here on Swiss Impact with Banerjee. You get more when you give back.
So always invest with impact.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone.
Welcome back to episode 16 of season 5, dedicated to impactful investment opportunities. However, today's episode is not really about profitable business opportunity, but more of a case of finding an amazing gold mine which lies just in front of our eyes for decades, but the world seems to have forgotten about it. So today we will show you the world's oldest lake and its dark secret.
That is so true. But before we start, I want to invite everyone to join us and watch us on Swiss Impact TV. And where can you find us? You can find us on Smart TV, on YouTube channels, and even on podcasts. And for all the businesses who are looking for support or finding and consider yourself impactful, please feel free to connect with us using the email apply@iisolutions.ch.
Great, thank you, Ben. But before we come to the secret, maybe you also prepared a nice story which you want to share with our audience.
Thank you. I remember when I was a kid, we had this very, very old man, and he was very wise, who used to visit us once in a while. He came from the Himalayas, from the mountains. And my grandfather, who was also extremely intelligent and wise, he was in fact one of the pioneer engineer who laid the foundation stone of modern India, told him very proudly, did you know, mankind has landed on moon? And this very old man looked at my grandfather, smiled, and said, it is indeed great that mankind has reached the moon. But are you fully aware of the immense knowledge and treasure that the earth still has, and mankind is not aware of? Well, this is just as much true today as it was more than 4 decades ago. There are many places in the world where you can look for hidden knowledge and treasure. So today, let us start with the world of water. From ancient times of fairy tales or pirate stories, which were my favorite, it was always about seas, lakes, water, ocean, and the immense treasure, fantastic beasts, mermaids, magical creatures, and gods.
I see you're
living
inspired
in the
today.
water. Thank you. So today we will take you with our journey to the world's one of the largest, oldest, and desolate water world. Not only it holds many secrets, even many which are deadly to most life forms. In conclusion, as mentioned by many scientists till now, that Mother Nature has everything for us, what we need to survive and flourish. Even every molecule we need, whether as a medicine, whether as food, whether to grow, whether for anything, has been specially designed by her for us. So we should stop destroying and damaging her, but instead learn from her. And if we take care of her, she would nourish us with everything. Just a few days back, I was thinking that despite of our glorious intelligence and evolution, we have weapons which can destroy cities. We can send rockets to stars. But even today, we still cannot create a single bacteria or living organism.
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 Right. And Of course, I get your point, and I completely agree with you, Ben, that this is why exactly we invite two of our guests of today, which are scientists who are studying one very tiny aspect of our wonderful blue planet, which is the Lake of Baikal. And with this, I'd like to welcome our guests, Dr. Ilya Aslamov and Dr. Michael Granin.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome,
there.
Ilya and Michael. Isha.
Great to
Yes,
have you with us today. Where are you right now? Are you at Baikal or where are you guys?
So Ilya is near Lake Baikal, and I am near another lake, Issyk-Kul, which is in Kyrgyzstan.
Okay. And
I'm
Ilya,
in Irkutsk city now. Yeah.
Okay.
About 70 kilometers from Lake Baikal.
17 or 70?
70.
Okay. So before we start, I just wanted to shortly introduce you two to our audience. So Ilya, you are a physicist from Irkutsk State University. Do I say it correctly?
Irkutsk, yes. Perfect.
Irkutsk. And later you became a mathematician in Moscow. You created your whole career at the Limnological Institute, the Siberian branch of Russian Academy of Sciences. And today you head the laboratory of hydrology and hydrophysics at the very same place. And you specialize in ice regime, heat and mass exchange, environmental monitoring, turbulent mixing, design and manufacture of scientific equipments, hydrophysics, and hydroacoustics. Each of them are so interesting. I can speak for hours on this with you.
We have to meet say each and every word, or a lot of them are completely unknown to many people watching us, but we will talk about it.
And you have published 18 papers in journals. And second is Misha, who is a very, very old friend of mine. We met in Armenia, in case you don't remember. You have regularly participated in expeditions and worked at the Limnological Institute of the SBRAS, stands for Siberian branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences, as well as other institutes of the SBRAS, like the Matrosov Institute for System Dynamics and Control Theory of Siberian branch of Russian Academy of Sciences. It's difficult to say it all with one lungful of air. You started with your first degree from the Irkutsk State University with mathematics, information security, and cryptography, and then you went on further doing PhD in computer sciences. So let's start now.
Absolutely. So maybe Ilya, could you share with us your story? Where are you from? What's your region? And how did you spend your childhood?
Okay.
In 1 minute.
In 1 minute. Okay, I'll try. Thank you very much for inviting me for this interview. I was born in Moscow. You're right. My parents was from Siberia. My dad was from Irkutsk region, and my mom was from the Tomsk region. After graduating from university, they went to Moscow to get a postgraduate education. There they met, got married, and I was born. Since they were engaged in scientific activities, for the first 3 years I lived in Siberia in Tomsk with my grandmother. And after my parents defended their postgraduate degrees, they took me from Tomsk and we moved to Angarsk city, which is situated about 50 kilometers from Irkutsk and about 100 from Lake Baikal. Here I went to kindergarten school and then graduated from Angarsk Polytechnic Lyceum. After that, I entered the physics department at Irkutsk State University, rented a flat and moved to Irkutsk to continue my study.
Thank you. That's really in 1 minute.
Yeah, exactly. And Misha, tell us about yourself. Where were you born and how did you spend your childhood? Next to swimming in Baikal.
Exactly. I was so lucky that I was born right there at Lake Baikal, just 20 meters from the Limnological Institute, where we both worked with Ilya. And my parents, they both worked in this institute. My father was the head of laboratory just before Ilya, the same laboratory of hydrophysics and hydrology. And my mom, she was studying the climate, and she was a chemist in the same institute. She's from Riga, Latvia. So I enjoyed my childhood there on Lake Baikal, and it was part of my life because since I think 5, I was already joining my parents for expeditions, and I have amazing photos and memories when I was taking some sediments and doing other scientific work from a very young age. So it was my passion as Lake Baikal itself, just because it's my motherland and science there. And then I enjoyed studying in Irkutsk when the institute was moved there. But I was returning to Baikal all the time. I was participating in expeditions almost every year. Luckily, I could join my parents, and then I started to work in institute. I had joined several institutions, scientific institutions in Irkutsk Akademgorodok, but I was always either through some connected projects or directly working with Limnological Institute. And my major publications, scientific publications, are with this institute. And in recent years, what made us great friends, I was very much involved with technology because mostly I'm from computer science background. So I was passionate about blockchain technology. So that's how we met in Armenia in first Armenian blockchain forum. And my role was mostly a community leader and an evangelist of this technology. So I traveled a lot around the world and spread the knowledge about it, and had some projects which are mostly connecting science with this technology and allowing us to solve global challenges like mitigating climate crisis and in general sustainable development. So I think it was a little bit over 1 minute, but I hope it was.
Yeah, no, but this was
problem.
perfect. And can you tell us something of your work at Matrosov Institute for system dynamics and control theory?
Yeah. So I actually completed my PhD there, and I spent quite some time there. And I had several periods working there. The first one was with my PhD, and it was quite challenging. I had to change the topics of my PhD at least 8 times, but finally it was very successful. And generally, the feedback was that generally you can go straight away to doctor degree without any problems. And the next time I joined them with purely mathematical tasks, I joined my teachers from my university who were teaching me the basics of cryptography and discrete mathematics. And I enjoyed deep scientific research in this field. Mathematics is a very special field for me, and I'm still in touch with them and helping them with some work, but it's not my major competence at the moment. Yet they always get back to me because they see that a lot of use cases for their theoretical studies are in the field of blockchain and cryptography, where I have a lot of use cases and experience in real world scenarios. So I still work with them and I'm in touch with them, and I have a lot of friends there.
Right. Ilya, and could you share with us how did you become the head of laboratory of hydrology and hydrophysics?
By working very hard.
At my 5th year at Irkutsk State University, I got a job at this laboratory of the Limnological Institute. Here I did my pre-graduation internship and wrote my thesis on the development of a temperature and light-controlled microcultivator for microalgae. After graduating with a specialization in radiophysics and electronics, I continued to work at the institute as an engineer and enrolled in postgraduate studies there. Then I defended my postgraduate thesis on the heat transfer at the ice-water interface and the structure of the under-ice water lane in Lake Baikal. And in this year, I was appointed head of the Hydrology and Hydrophysics laboratory.
Okay. And is it really true that Lake Baikal is the world's oldest lake?
Yes, Lake Baikal is one of the oldest lakes. It's about 25 million years old. And also it's the deepest lake and the most voluminous lake in the world. It contains about 50% of the world's fresh surface water reserves.
But what is so special about it for you, Michael and Ilya? Like, why are you so attracted to it?
So I can easily tell it because, I've traveled half of my life I spent outside of my country, but I couldn't leave Lake Baikal. So whenever I'm coming back to Russia, I first go to Irkutsk, go to Lake Baikal. I spend at least few hours, mostly a few days there because it's really amazing atmosphere and energy of the place. This is the first thing I can tell. And then, of course, what Ilya just told, it's actually very important resource. You know that we are in the age when the fresh water is becoming scarce, and it is a huge crisis in many places in the world. And generally, Baikal is a solution for it. We don't have proper logistics like we have for oil and gas for fresh water, but definitely Baikal reserve of fresh water is extremely important for the future. And other thing which is probably connecting both points is nature of Lake Baikal. All the endemics which live there and amazing fresh air, and generally it's a great resort. So whenever you have a chance, I know that right now it's quite hard, but I definitely can say that it's one of the most beautiful and interesting places in the world.
But isn't it cold? Very, very cold the whole year.
You know, actually, the like Isyk-Kul here, Baikal is also it's like accumulator of heat and cold both. So it have quite mild climate compared to the extremely continental climate of the place where it's located. But if you are there on the lake, it is not too hot in summer, it's not too cold in winter, because Baikal is softening the climate, and actually it's quite comfortable throughout the year.
Okay. No,
Ilya, what about you? Why the lake is caught you? Why the lake caught you, and how?
Caught me.
Yeah, attracted you. Why it's so attractive for you, the Baikal Lake?
It's Lake Baikal is amazing. It's very big. When you're in expedition, very beautiful nature.
There are no words, right? It's difficult to express.
Yes.
Why? There is some magic.
You know,
and Misha, what has been the most?
It's hard to describe it.
Yeah. What has been the most challenging situation you have faced at Baikal?
You know, for me, I was joining many winter expeditions, and it is very special because lake is under the ice, and you live on ice, and the weather can be really extreme. For example, when it's extremely windy, all the snow is floating around, and you just make one step, and you cannot see anything around you, and you cannot understand any directions, and you cannot hear any sound because it's extremely loud wind. So you're like in this white sphere, and you can be lost very easily. So winter expeditions are extremely dangerous, especially traveling on ice, because in spite of all the precautions and security measures, so many vehicles have drawn under the ice, and I have experienced such cases when, you know, your vehicle is going on ice, and just in a second you are in the water, and it's very hard to get back on the ice. So this is so luckily, mostly we use vehicles which are amphibious, so they can swim, but getting them on the ice is quite hard. But sometimes we have to use normal cars and bikes, and in these cases it's very dangerous. Luckily, I always was in this amphibia trucks, and we could survive. Luckily, there were no any casualties throughout our history, but many people have gone through quite extreme situations. Winter expeditions are quite tough, but it's interesting, much interesting than hunting, fishing, or anything you can imagine on ice.
You had my attention by saying that it's a very temperate, very easy place, and now you scared me off.
So climate is nice, but if you have to travel 700 kilometers throughout the lake on the ice, it can be challenging at times.
Several hundred kilometers. How big is Baikal?
It's a very long lake. Yeah. Lake Baikal is the deepest lake in the world, and it's quite long. There are not so many lakes with fresh water. Yes, 600, but if you have to go to travel
from south to north,
south to north on the surface, not going to the islands and so on. It can be even more than 600. Yeah.
Wow.
Ilya, you are such a prolific scientist. We know you published many papers in referred journals, but what was your scientific discovery that you have made, which you want to tell us about?
Scientific discovery. Okay. As I mentioned, I have been doing research on heat exchange at the ice-water interface and find spatial and temporal scales of these processes that occur on this interface, and coupled with difficult conditions for experiment setup on the ice surface, hampered any detailed field studies on the ice-water interface structure until recently. And to study this, we developed special equipment, autonomous system for lake ice monitoring.
Yeah.
Nice.
That sounds very complicated.
What I found very amazing, because I know in Japan and in Europe also they're doing a lot of research on ice crystals, ice molecules, but in bike, what is created artificially or in machines in Japan and Europe, in Baikal, if you look at the pictures, it seems as if it already is there, created by nature. It is so amazingly beautiful, the crystal structures of the Baikal.
Yes, very beautiful crystals.
Yeah, and what is, for our audience, so what is basically limnology? And what does your institute do?
That's a very good question, you know.
Okay.
Michael, you want to answer or whoever jumps in?
You want to know about limnology, okay? Yeah.
Yeah. What is that? What is limnology?
Is the study of inlet. Okay, limnology is the study of inlet waters, lakes, both freshwater and saline, reservoirs, rivers, streams, wetlands. As it studies these objects as ecological systems interacting with their drainage basins and the atmosphere. Limnos is a lake on Greece, as you know. Okay. Second question was this about Limnological Institute. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is the research institution for complex interdisciplinary studies of Lake Baikal and other water bodies in Siberia.
And
Michael,
some other.
You want to add something?
So, in general, I just can say that I was lucky to participate in some of these discoveries on Lake Baikal, some very unique forms of ice, which looks like structures like towers on the lake made of ice. So I was lucky to travel a lot around Lake Baikal and just visually photograph and locate such anomal ice structures, and we published some papers about it. And also, I think one of the most amazing experience for me on Lake Baikal was on the summer expeditions when we found gas hydrate escapes, when you could see water literally boiling right on the surface, right in the middle of the lake. It looks like there is a huge kettle and you can literally see the gas going out of lake, even though it's so deep, and most of gas, of course, is dissolved in the water while it goes up, but still you can see it's like a boiling water in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the lake. So some of these experiences are really unique, and it's driving me to continue this kind of research. There's always something new to find there.
Michael, and what is the main institute activities and research areas? So what exactly is the research about?
So mainly institute is obtaining all the applied knowledge in the field of this, whatever Ilya already said, biology, physics, geology, geography, and so on. In essence, the idea is to have a holistic knowledge about everything what happens in the lake. It connects all the physics, chemistry, getting all the historical data where we have a lot of experience, because Baikal, for example, have the longest history of observing ice phenomena. So we know about climate quite a lot. And river Angara, which is flowing out of Baikal, we have even longer track record of changes of climate, which we can observe just on observing ice phenomena. So all this is a very holistic idea of having one subject to study and taking all the scientists together to work in interdisciplinary approach. So in general, it is a very broad approach to researching one of the most amazing objects in the nature.
I mean, it's like a magical world. It is stuck through, I think Ilya said, it's 25 million years old. So much time, you can see the time changes, the climate change, everything you can study just by studying Baikal.
Yeah, but in essence, if to be more formal, it's about all the biodiversity and evolution of all different species and systems in Baikal, and understanding all the mechanisms which are driving the ecosystem. And of course, it's also about the current state of Baikal. We are getting all the data all the time and forecasting the development, how all the inland water bodies are evolving through the history. Because, for example, my mother, she was researching, there are millions of years of climate changes which we can observe just by taking sediments from Lake Baikal. Because 25 years, something is falling on the bottom, and when we extract it, and layer by layer, we can analyze when it was tropical climate, when it was really cold, and this is pure data. It's very, very precise. And of course, very interesting part where I don't have much experience is all the life systems, all the organisms which live in the lake, all the molecular biology and so on. So it's very broad.
And Ilya, how deep is Baikal then? And what are the Institute's most important results?
Lake Baikal is 1,642 meters.
Wow. I thought our Swiss lakes are deep.
This one is deepest in the world, literally.
Yeah. Wow. That's like an ocean.
Yes.
And how old is your institute?
Our institute was founded in 1928, but that it was Limnological stations, and in 1941 it was reorganized in the Limnological Institute.
Wow, so that means
about
you have
100 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So would I be correct if I say you have the largest or the oldest data on climate change among the research institutes?
Actually, it's even longer. Yes,
it's
because
one of
even
the oldest. Yes.
yeah. So
climate change is one of the favorite topics of Ben. You know, now you understand why we are talking about Baikal.
No, I already know that a couple of West European universities have already contacted. They want to contact the Baikal Institute because they want to share knowledge and share expertise. That would be amazing.
And guys, could you tell us about your impact on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Are you working in this area as well, proactively?
Like protection of the marine life, protection of the people and things like that?
So in essence, of course, it's more a scientific work than activism and real changes. But definitely, first of all, this climate data that we collect, and actually we are now working on a second paper, which is uniting all the data throughout the world about all the ice phenomena around the world, so we can reconstruct how different regions have this track record of climate change. And it is very precise, again, without any doubt. People were writing down ice phenomena. For example, the longest track record is in Japan. When people have to cross some water bodies, they know that they can cross it only when there is ice. So they record when ice is coming and going. And so like this, all the scientific data, all this quite practical science is actually can be a basis for all this major challenges which are in those goals. So of course we can say that also we are connected with the educational goals and so on, but I think the major one is regarding the climate.
Mm-hmm. And how many people work in the institute?
Okay. Limnological Institute includes one department and 12 laboratories. The institute employs around 300 people, including research vessel crews, and about half of them are scientists.
Okay. And is the institute having any international cooperation program which is active?
In the 90s, there was a Baikal International Center for Ecological Research, the so-called PICER, which included Russian, Swiss, Belgian, British, and Japanese scientists.
Okay.
But it is not active now. In general, at the time, the support for science in Russia was weak, and our institute participated in many international grants and programs. Recently, such activity has considerably decreased, but nevertheless, we continue private collaborating and writing joint papers.
Wow, that's such a pity. I think it's really important that it continues to be international, and of course it's difficult nowadays, especially, but science and such...
And climate change does not know borders and countries or anything. It's impacting everybody everywhere. And is your institutes currently looking for funding, partners, investors, collaborators?
Yes, of course. Funding always remains a deterrent to scientific research. And scientific cooperation is always very useful for both sides, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
So someone who would be interested to collaborate with you, should they contact you via your website, or how could they find you?
Yes, they can find with my emails, which in any my paper, or from our site of Limnological Institute. Okay, there are also contacts.
Okay.
There are nice websites of the laboratory of the institute. There are nice reports from each expeditions. We have some pictures and description of the work that we do, and of course all the contact details are there.
Okay, and you didn't have any pictures or videos to share today?
we definitely can share a lot, but it probably will take too much time. So I think it's the best way to start enjoying the website and looking at how this work is being performed. And yes, definitely, we will have some follow-up and we will share some videos right after this interview.
And talking about because you told me you guys are also working on a report on climate change. So we had some questions like how would you very simply say what is the current state of the world climate at this moment?
Please, not too depressive, guys.
Ilya is already thinking, oh God, where should I start?
Then I can start this.
Okay. So warming began about the middle of the 19th century. According to our ice data, it continues until now.
Yeah, so actually we have very interesting discoveries that it seems that climate change is going with a different pace and even in some parts in different directions in different regions. When you observe ice phenomena in different regions, somewhere the ocean streams are changing the climate faster, or in some places it is less impact from all the activities, all the things that we as civilization are doing with the nature. So it is very interesting to see that in some places we have to focus, and this ice phenomena, that data, it allows us to segment the world and see how climate is changing not only globally but also regionally. And another thing that we see is that it with the ice phenomena, it is much easier to distinguish where it is just weather, something which is changing from decade to decade, let's say, and where it's really climate when we speak about multiple decades and centuries. Because again, nothing else have such a long track record as ice phenomena.
Yeah.
But Michael, would you say that climate change is human-driven, or it's just the natural circle or spiral development that we are coming from time to time to climate change and we can do nothing about it?
So we definitely should always be humble and understand that planet was going through cycles, and we are in one of those cycles right at the moment. But at the same time, definitely our impact is quite big, and we can see it in many things, like deforestation is making all this extreme climate and extreme weather conditions more and more prevailing. It's becoming a norm now to have all these hurricanes and droughts and so on. And I think that it is very important to understand that we just have to study it. And our laboratory was studying climate change from many different points. In most recent studies, we have studied how the duration of ice cover has changed through the years. And the duration of the ice period on Lake Baikal was reduced by 18 days in just last 100 years. So it is quite a thing. It's not. It's almost 3 weeks in a year, and it's average data. So we are quite sure that there are really changes happening there, and also we can mention that there are no any catastrophic changes during last decades in these specific regions. In some other places, we can see that in some places there is no any ice cover anymore. But in Lake Baikal, it is more stable. It is the middle of the continent, the biggest continent, and it's not surrounded by too much of industries and activities.
Okay. And Ilya, can you tell us about the design and the manufacture of scientific equipments you have made?
In our laboratory, we develop a wide range of different scientific measuring equipment. For example, ecological monitoring stations, water level meters, temperature and pressure loggers. For my postgraduate thesis, I developed an automatic ice monitoring station. Okay.
Okay.
And what is the Ice Phenology?
Oh, yes.
What?
Here, Ilya definitely can tell a lot. Ice Phenology, yes.
Yes, Ice
Phenology.
Phenology.
Ice phenology consists of the dates of freezing and ice breakup and the total number of ice days of a lake. It could be different for different regions. Duration of ice period and maximal thickness of ice for Lake Baikal region tell us about warming from 1930.
Yeah, so almost 2 centuries already. We have a
more
trend.
than about two centuries, we see that climate change.
At the beginning, we were mentioning about the dark secret of Baikal Lake. So What is the dark secret?
Tell me there is a Loch Ness monster also in Baikal.
We just have
Like,
Baikal seals. They're quite nice. No animals there.
So,
but is there any dark secret? At least.
So Ilya, what secrets do we have?
Secrets.
They are here now.
I think you said 1.6 kilometers deep, so there can be anything. There can be monsters. There can be
Loch Ness monsters.
Yeah, exactly.
No one sees them in Lake Baikal.
Could you, I mean, I thought it's about the methane actually. So
Oh yeah, the
Yes,
methane
yes.
and
the
the
methane
pathologies.
issue is a quite
Yes.
dark thing. So if
Yes,
you can talk
hydrates.
more about that.
Yes.
So I just will give a background
Yeah,
how
it's-
important it is. For example, my mother in Limnological Institute, she prepared a report on Arctic ice melting, and it's amazing to know that it's hundreds of thousands of tons of methane can go out of soil and bottom of the oceans there, and it can dramatically change climate in just very short time.
Yeah.
So methane is extremely important because it changes climate much faster than CO2 that we emit with all our activities. And of course, it's very interesting to research gas hydrates. And till recent years, it was believed that the gas hydrates, which is as a gas in the form of solid, which looks like ice, but this ice is under water, under the bottom sediments. And recently, I was lucky to be be present there when my father and other researchers, they discovered that it is possible that gas hydrates are possible to form also in lakes. Specifically, they were found on Lake Baikal. So this research is extremely important. It can be called the dark secret of Lake Baikal because no one knew
Scary.
about it.
Yeah.
And it is quite scary.
Yeah.
So
And what about pathological diseases? Because since it is 25 million years old lake, all frozen, so it may be possible that there are a lot of bacteria or viruses from millions of years ago, which are frozen and stuck under the lake.
Waiting to be released.
honestly, I don't think so. But there were some phenomena which were quite disturbing. There was mass deaths of Galamanka fish, mass deaths of
Yeah.
Baikal seals. So all these things required research. And recently there was some kind of biological activity which started to really affect the biodiversity of Lake Baikal. So Baikal sponges were almost extinct in many places on the lake, and we really have to be very careful with such an old ecosystem, which was very, very stable, and now we are changing it with building hydro power plants and all the other activities, or tourism activities and so on. So it all affects ecosystem, and we never know where is this tipping point. So yeah, it is quite important. Of course, Ilya can tell much more about methane and gas hydrates.
I was just going to ask if you can tell a little bit about the vertical distribution of methane and why is it so important?
Okay. Ask me. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. We start to study methane distribution in the water column after gas hydrates finding in bottom sediments of Lake Baikal. The water level in Lake Baikal was increased 60 years ago after construction of a dam of Irkutsk hydroelectric power plant. And it led to a deepening of the lower boundary of the gas hydrate stability in the sediments, which in turn resulted in a long transition process to a new equilibrium. And during the last 15 years, we see an increase in methane concentrations in water. These changes have potentially important effects on the biota and may explain high death rates of the endemic deepwater fish Golomianka, which were registered before the construction of the dam and possibly may begin again when the system passes into a new equilibrium state.
Okay. And could you tell us something about the methane gas hydrates in the Baikal's bottom sediments? And the question is, how do you reach the bottom sediments? It's 1.6 kilometers deep.
As we mentioned, Lake Baikal is the only lake in the Earth known to host solid phase of methane, so-called methane hydrates.
Yeah.
Methane hydrates were found in the bottom sediments in 1996 and in the near the surface of bottom sediments in 2000s. And also during the last 10 years, a lot of gas seeps were found in Lake Baikal.
Yeah. And about finding them, I think it's a very interesting story, how we found them. And
yeah, please share. How did you find them?
So initially, there was different hypotheses. Whenever we had traveled during scientific expeditions on Lake Baikal, we always monitor everything with echolocation. So we see everything that's happening out under the ship. And we see that there are some gas escapes from the bottom of the lake. And of course, theoretically, with all the mathematical modeling and so on, we could prove many things and be sure that these are not just gas seeps, but with models show that it's possible that gas hydrates can be formed on the bottom of the lake. But later, I think that, Ilya, you can tell maybe more details, but in essence, it's very, in short, special deep water vehicles were brought to Lake Baikal. They were called MIR. They were usually used to study the bottom of oceans, but they were brought to Lake Baikal, and in one of those expeditions to the depths of the lake with the robot manipulator hand, it was possible in those locations that we discovered in our previous expeditions. It was possible to extract this from the bottom, and we have amazing video footage of it. You can see that it looks like ice, but whenever you are trying to bring it to the surface, it starts to not just to melt, but almost to explode underwater because it gets from its solid form directly to the gas form. Mm-hmm. So it's really fascinating.
So that's how you have been doing your barbecues since then.
By the way, I think that gas hydrates are the best solution to the problem of depletion of fossil fuels, because in essence, research shows that gas hydrates are being formed under the sediments continuously, and if we get the way to extract them, this is a source of natural gas, generally, which is we can say almost infinite. The nature creates, and it's very compact, but it's very hard to extract it to the surface and use it.
But what about when you burn it, then you're producing CO2 or not?
Of course, yes. Of course, we speak again about fossil fuels and it impacts the climate. But another problem that we have that in general, we are depleting all these sources of in some industries, we just need gas to produce something, not to burn it. So in essence, it is a very interesting field to research. And at least we know that it is less polluting than other fossil fuels.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And what about biodiversity? Is Baikal Lake facing any problems with decreasing biodiversity, or is it still completely fine?
So as I said, there are challenges. Like we see that some species which are very hard to reproduce are being lost with quite a high speed. So at the moment, we cannot say that like it's a crisis where we are losing many species already, but definitely this is something to pay attention. It is really a time when we see extreme phenomena happening more and more often on Lake Baikal, and it is, you know, the thing is, the difference of Lake Baikal from any other ecosystem is that it was in a very stable state for a very long time. It's a very old lake, so this equilibrium is extremely fragile. It's, of course, it's not very objective, but it gives you an essence of the problem that we have. Like, for example, some simplest thing that all the tourists are coming to Lake Baikal, and if everybody start to use simple washing powders, nobody thinks about consequences, but they can be really extreme for many species. And Lake Baikal have a very complicated chain of ecological change, and generally the food chains in the lake are very delicate. There are so many dependencies there that breaking any one small part can destroy species and ecosystem altogether. So I think it's very important to keep protecting all the national parks and keep reducing all the industries which are there around the lake. And luckily, most horrible things like paper plants, they were closed. Cellulose plants and other such industrial objects are not being constructed there around the lake anymore. We could prevent building of oil pipes going around the lake. So I think it is very important to keep an eye on it. And I was an activist in all this activities to protect the lake. And it'll be my mission throughout this lifetime for sure.
That's great. I mean, this is already activism, even if you were saying you're not doing it, but I'm sure everyone who lives there in that region will stand in front of all industrial construction saying, no construction here gonna happen.
Of course, I was telling about the institute, because institute is just a scientific institution. It's not supposed to be part of any activism. It's just bringing to people attention and making all the educational activities. This is a part of role that institute is playing. But me, myself, and I know that Ilya also, we also, of course, we are always concerned about everything happening around the lake. I think since 2000, I was in a part of projects which are to clean up banks of Lake Baikal. So around the whole lake, we were collecting trucks and trucks of garbage every year, and then educating people why it's important to keep the space clean. And like I said, educating tourists and hotels why they shouldn't use detergents. And even recently, I was in part of some IT platforms which are setting a goal to completely eliminate any kind of waste reaching Lake Baikal. Generally, it's a huge problem there because all the waste from all the hotels, it's going through some process, but it ends up in the lake. It's finally, and it's very important to estimate how many tourists are there, how much waste is being removed, so we can make sure that nobody is cheating and all the waste is going through the proper process of cleaning and relocation from the natural park regions.
Okay.
Wow, that's great. Very well done.
Yes, I think one of the final questions will be, Ilya, can you tell us about your latest publication on environmental monitoring of the littoral zone of the Baikal Lake?
Okay, we developed an automatic hydrometeorological station to monitor the littoral zone of Lake Baikal in areas with high anthropogenic pressure. The developed station was installed near the Bolshoi Koty settlement, Station is equipped with a weather station and sensors measuring water temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, redox potential, conductivity, chlorophyll A, and turbidity. This was our first experience focused on obtaining the necessary competencies for the development of a monitoring network of the Baikal nature territory.
Okay.
That's very scientific. I hope we have many science watching us today as well to enjoy that. So we try to make it mixed of for normal people, for science, for the ones who want to support. So whoever you are, I hope you will get in touch with Ilya or Michael and figure it out how you can support them. Because it's a global heritage, the Lake of Baikal. It's like Amazon forest, it's the same. So it just many people maybe don't know about it, but I hope now they will. Guys, the time is running. How our audience can support you? What can they do? Are you maybe on social media as well? Can they like you, or what else can people do for you?
So I think that generally for science, it's not so much about the media exposure. Much more important is any kind of financing for acquisition of new tools, new equipment, financing new expeditional works. In past, there was so many international projects and many governmental bodies were supporting Russian science. Now it is a different situation, and we mostly rely on you, our audience, and this is the best form of impact investment, I think, when we are investing in something which is a long-term sustainability of generally half of fresh water on the earth and the most unique ecosystem in the world. And researching it is the only way to save it. So I think that just start exploring, get in touch, come visit us if it's possible. And of course, if you can just get in touch, we will give any options for financing, donations, all the projects which are happening there, so we can be a part of the work that we do.
Thank you
Great.
very much.
And to round up, we always ask our guests to send a call to action also to our global audience, whatever you want to say. Ilya, maybe you want to start?
Okay, as Misha mentioned, the geological records shows that the Earth's climate has been changing throughout the planet's existence, with natural cold and warm periods. The Little Ice Age ended only recently, less than 200 years ago. Therefore, it is not surprising that we are now experiencing a warming period. And how much human activity or nature itself is to blame for this process, I think it has not yet been finally clarified. Also, I think there is no climate emergency now as presented in IPCC records and hyped in media. As the Global Climate Intelligence Group nicely put it, climate science should be less political, while climate policies should be more scientific.
Wow, I love that. That's really great.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder what Ben has to say.
No, I agree to the second part about the policies and the science. That is absolutely correct. Only the first part I have question marks on because.
But if we have no time for that.
Oh,
okay. Now the call to action from Misha.
So I definitely can say that in some places on our planet, there is climate emergency. We can see it, but we are lucky that on Lake Baikal, we see that change is gradual and we still can preserve the ecosystem and we still can enjoy this for millennia and probably millions of years to come. So my call to action is very simple. Just be more aware of your own lifestyle and how it affects the planet. This is what I do throughout my life, and I can say that it's actually really enjoying and fulfilling You can be much happier when you know that your existence on this planet is sustainable. And if you have some resources, just start allocating something to this long-term research. And this is where the biggest value comes, because we don't know much about climate yet. And what we are trying to do, where we need help, especially financing international publications and spreading this knowledge, it is the most important part. Just get this research done and get the proper data so we can really know what's happening with the climate. Because generally what Ilya said, that it is too much hype and too little of real data. And this is where our research work is focused. And this is where I focus my own projects, where I try to combine all the technologies that we have, all the IT and even blockchain technologies with the scientific approach, so that we can be sure that sustainable development on this earth is defined and it will be possible to achieve it. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thanks, Misha. It's really, really nice message. Well, we need to say goodbye to you today, scientists, and thank you so much for joining us. It was really amazing to get to know more about the Baikal Lake and about your work, what you do. As a little thank you, we will be happily providing you a honorary membership on Chamomile platform. Please register and we will upgrade that so you can connect with some of our amazing, maybe scientists as well from the impact space.
And maybe investors.
And of course, investors, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Impact Leader certificate for your amazing engagement for our planet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you and enjoy. Hope it's not too cold in Irkutsk yet. And I mean, Baikal Lake is on my bucket list since a long time, so I hope soon we will be there and see beautiful eyes.
Misha had invited, but when I heard about the temperature, I said, no way, too cold.
In summer, we will come in summer.
Summertime is the best. Summer, yes.
Winter also good. Very beautiful in winter.
Bye, guys. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you very much for hearing us. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, dear viewers, with this we finish the 16th episode of season 5. How many will we have? I wonder. Next week we will be back with a very, very interesting fund with impact and performance. You will know when you will watch us next week.
And please do not forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel, and you will at youtube.com/spaceimpact, and you will always be kept updated with the newest information.
Absolutely. And everyone who thinks they're ready for the TV show, just apply on our website, impactinvesting.tv.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Yes.
Yes, check that out. You get more when you give back.
So always invest with impact. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Hi, we hope you enjoyed this episode of TV show, Swiss Impact with Banerjee.
Make sure you check out the next one and also find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Spotify, podcasts, and any of your favorite social media places.
And please subscribe to our channel so you know when we release new episodes.
And also leave us some feedback to help us grow this awesome impact community and join it.
We look forward to sharing the next episodes with you, and until then, you get more when you give back.
So always invest with impact.